Marisha here, and today I'm going to share with you a 1 day itinerary for Greenwich, which, if you're not familiar as an American, is a neighborhood in London. What I like about this itinerary is that everything is in walking distance of each other, as well as walking distance of the closest tube station, technically the DLR, Cutty Sark. Now, that being said, the Cutty Sark station is currently closed until May 31st. So if you were going to do this itinerary before then, you would have to find alternate means of transportation, either drive yourself or take a bus, etc. I would say though, part of what makes Greenwich nice are some of the views outdoors. So it might be nice to kind of squirrel this away and approach it in the summer. But that being said, let's get started. A lot of what I'm recommending is indoors, so it doesn't matter what the weather is like, starting with the National Maritime Museum. Now, some of the things that I'm recommending, I will have mentioned in previous videos that were themed along, various, what exactly is the venue or what are they talking about. So this is a bit of a repeat for people who have watched all of my videos, but instead of being themed around what is it that this venue is offering, we're now theming around this is all in Greenwich. So the National Maritime Museum is free. And it is a really big museum, 2 floors, but also just kind of like a huge box-shaped museum. And you can explore all areas of the world from a seafaring perspective and learn about kind of like the history of seafaring and the history of the Navy, the Royal Navy. They currently have a really great exhibition on pirates going. This costs £15 admission, or half that if you have the National Art Pass. It does end in January, so if you wanted to make that part of your itinerary, then you'll need to plan to do it in the next couple of months. I thought it was worthwhile because I really like pirates, and I did get it half price anyway. It talks about the history of pirates as well as pop culture pirates, and I had fun because I went with a Brit, and some of the pop culture pirates I wasn't familiar with because they didn't make it across the pond to America, namely Captain Pugwash. So there was a little bit about Captain Pugwash in this exhibition, and he was saying, "Oh yeah, I remember that. I used to watch it. It was a cartoon." He's like, "You would like Captain Pugwash," and I just happened like a couple weeks later to come across this book in a charity shop, and so I thought, "Oh, I'll pick it up and I'll read this Captain Pugwash tale." So I would recommend going while the Pirates exhibition is still on if you are at all interested in pirates. But again, even if that's not on when you go, it's still a worthwhile museum, free. And right next door is Queen's House, which is also free entry. It's some remarkable architecture, some great art, and between the two of those, because pretty much everything in Britain opens at 10, by the time you finish looking at both of those places, you'll probably be ready to have some lunch. And kitty corner from the Maritime Museum is a restaurant called Goddard's, and they do pie and mash. And you can get pie and mash for like £6, £7, depending on what the ingredients are. They have traditional steak and kidney, the chicken and mushroom, but they also have vegetarian and vegan options as well. So it's a great hearty meal for really, really reasonable prices. You want to get pie and mash at like a typical pub, and you're talking like £15. So I couldn't believe how cheap it was to eat there. I eat there every time I go to Greenwich. Um, and then when you're done with lunch, I think the main draw, the most famous draw of Greenwich, is the Royal Observatory and Prime Meridian. But I would say, for me personally, I don't think it's worth the price of admission because it's really spendy. It's like £24, I think, for an adult. And for what you get to see, I wouldn't pay that. I paid half price because you do get half price with the National Art Pass. Um, But if you are interested in astronomy, then you might find that it's worth it. If you really want to get your picture, take a picture of your feet on the prime meridian, like, okay, go for it. But I would say I would recommend skipping that. Similarly, I would recommend skipping Cutty Sark, which is a clipper ship on um, kind of on the edge of the river. It's not actually even on the river the way that, for example, the HMS Belfast is. Um, it's on land, and again, it's 22 pounds admission. And I actually haven't been in the Cutty Sark for that reason because I've been in other historical ships, and I feel like it's kind of you've seen one, you've seen them all. I know that's not entirely true. I'll probably end up going to Cutty Sark with my discount, National Art Pass discount at some point. But because London has the Golden Hind, and I was able to see that for free, um, I've been able to resist the temptation to go to Cutty Sark. But again, it is there, and I think especially if you have kids, it might be worth it. They might find it interesting. Of course, you're paying less for kids admission than the 22 pounds. And I think you can pay extra to climb the rigging of it as well. So some people might be attracted to that. But I would suggest that in lieu of going to those places after you've had your pie and mash, that you walk to the Fan Museum. And this is obviously a smaller museum and it's very niche because it's not all fans, it's just hand fans. There's no electric fans. But it's only £5 admission. And as someone who had pretty much no interest in fans going into the museum, I still found it a very interesting place. I didn't realize kind of maybe how long they've been around in the form that they are and being used as like decorative and used to commemorate things, particularly not inaugurations, coronations. So they have some fans that are from various kings and queens coronations, not just in England, but also France and I think a couple other European countries as well. So they go back a ways, the fans that they have on display, and it is just really it's an interesting stop. I think if you're there, like it's there. Maybe I wouldn't recommend making a special trip just to go there, but if you're in Greenwich anyway, again, it's right there in quick walking distance. And when I say these places are walking distance of each other, I'm talking like 10 minutes tops walking from one to the next. Um, so I would go there and then I would go to the Greenwich Market, which is a kind of a smaller version of what you would see at like Borough Market. Lots of different vendors selling assorted crafts, arts. There are some people who are selling things that they imported from China, but that's true. That's true in Borough Market too. And then there are plenty of different food places there. So if you wander long enough and you need dinner, then you can grab something from like a food truck as well. So that's Greenwich with a few options. There's the budget option, which is what I would recommend, not just because it's budget, but I also just think it's more interesting. But you can have a spendier option if you want to pack in the Royal Observatory and the Cutty Sark. Another thing that I would recommend, and one of the reasons I recommend going in nice weather in the summer, is stroll around the grounds of the Naval College. The old Naval College is really beautiful. That's another place where you can go inside, but they charge an admission to see the painted hall. It's really beautiful, but I don't know if it's worth the price of admission. I got to see it for free because I went to a special event that was taking place at the college, and so that was part of the price of the event. But the grounds themselves are just really lovely, especially if you go there in the spring when the daffodils are in bloom. You can get some really great pictures. And then also spend some time strolling along the Thames as well. So that's Greenwich. Easy to do in a day and fill your day with a lot of fun stuff and a variety of things. Naval history, some architecture, some fans, some pie and mash, etc. And then one bonus thing before I let you go is if you are a Monty Python fan, there is a monument to a dead parrot right next to the Maritime Museum on the opposite side from where Queen's house is. It's there, it's free, it's a plinth, it's a sculpture of a dead parrot, although really it looks a lot more like a cockatoo than a parrot, but whatever. Um, since you're there, just go have a look, have a laugh, take your picture with it, and enjoy your time in Greenwich. Like, subscribe, tell your friends how gnarly this channel is, and I'll see you next time.